saying, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
For sure.
Oh, we
You
start
can go.
now?
You can go first.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you ladies.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
honest
take up.
opinion, how do you ladies feel? Okay, so there's this thing where, you know, I know women are looking for a certain type of guy. Guys are looking for a certain type of women. But it's really getting tough for guys to cold approach now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because with all the social, you know, you got the dating websites, swiping right, left, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
DMs and all this. So, and guys really aren't approaching, I'm pretty sure you've experienced it. Guys really aren't cold approaching men.
Absolutely
Oh,
not.
that is so true.
So, how do you ladies feel about approaching men?
Uh-oh.
Okay, well,
I'll let Shanna start.
actually, this is interesting because
And before you go, Shauna, because let me preface this by saying, you will not get turned down by the guy that you approach. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
yeah,
Guaranteed. Okay.
That's good to know.
it is good to know.
Okay.
I can't. I don't know that I would cold approach someone just because if I really am interested in someone, I'm really shy. So like if I'm really interested in someone, like I have a hard time making eye contact, and I'm like really shy. But
She turns 5.
I really do. So, but I have, if I had an interest in someone that I had met, but like we only communicate via social media, or you know, we're just we know each other, but like don't know each other super well. I have been bold enough to just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna lay it out here. Like, I'm interested in you. I'm intrigued by you. I want to, you know, I would like to get to know you better. What do you think about that, or whatever? I've done that before.
Yeah. Impressive.
Interesting.
Impressive.
Actually, who have I done that? Only with one person, maybe 2. But it was hard for me. It was really hard for me.
You think? I'm just saying I had to do it since forever. So you're 2 times. It's like,
As guys, we've
Like,
got
it's been
rejected
twice.
and
Like, in
everything
your
else. So
blood.
it's like, yeah.
That's funny.
That's what you think? It's in our blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but most guys probably are like have to psych themselves up. I
Man,
don't know.
what?
I
don't know. For the record, I am in a happy relationship. Been in a relationship for 7 years. I need to put that out there
Good
before
for you.
I get in
Good
trouble.
for you.
right.
I'm gonna get me in trouble. But I do remember being single, and I feel sorry for y'all.
Yeah.
No joke. Every time I'm
It
in a
is bad out
relationship,
there. Every time I'm looking on social media,
So
I'm like,
bad.
I ain't got to deal with that.
right? Literally, every time I'm in a relationship, I
Deal
think
with that. That's
I'm
crazy.
so glad I don't have to deal with this man.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
Anyway, how do you feel about it?
I'm a friendly person. I feel like I'm a dope person. Like, I don't have a problem with it. My thing is, and this is going to be funny, but I'm dead serious. A lot of guys are gay now. It's like
That's actually true.
It's true.
and I don't have a good like gaydar.
That
And
is
so
funny.
it's like I don't be knowing like
You were right. That was funny.
should I like I don't
Very
it's like
true,
are you gay? Are you married?
Dang.
Are you like what like there a lot of those things stop me from approaching someone before like a confidence ever would stop me from approaching someone. Just was like I don't even know nowadays.
Just be sensitive.
Look any type of nice and you know you could be flaming, you know, but then it's like I don't want somebody who just looks like trash, but it's like it's so hard for me to tell because even now it's like I know I'll find out that people are gay and I'll be like I would have never known he was gay.
Right.
Like what the heck? And then too, like I'm not a skinny girl, but you know I'm like a mid-sized girl, and I kind of like bigger guys. But I don't want like necessarily like titties on a guy or like I don't
would be
necessarily
kinda
want like a humongous like belly. It's like I feel like there's certain types of things that I may be looking for that a lot of women are looking for. So those guys are usually taken. Like I just feel like it's very rare to see some guy who's attractive and intelligent
It is
and
very rare.
you know good at conversation and has you know any you know some type of gumption about himself. It's rare to just see those men walking around that are single or
If he
straight.
loves the Lord, forget it.
Like so
Yeah.
who would I approach at this point? It's like I'm not approaching anybody because where they at though.
Approach the animal shelter and bring me another cat.
So quick question. So say like, because I think I personally feel everybody has a type. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I personally feel everybody has a type.
I have a type.
I personally feel everybody has a type.
I thought I had a type. Can I elaborate on it?
I don't
Go
have
for
it.
it.
Yo, so because I was gonna ask y'all,
That's not right.
based on what you just said, it sounds like you have a type, and you can't find the type that you are looking for.
But let me stop you too. And I'm just going to interject just real quick. I apologize.
Okay.
I don't like, especially if I look over the course of like all of the people who dated, I am very willing to date outside my type. I never let my physical type stop me as long as I'm attracted to the person. Like I've dated tall guys, short guys, skinny guys, big guys. Like, well, I should say I haven't dated like literally just one tall guy, one short guy. Because I haven't dated a lot of people because y'all know I was married and then I was in a long-term relationship. So most of my adult life has spanned those two relationships.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm willing to date outside of my physical preference, but I still have to be sexually attracted to you and we still have to have a chemistry. Okay. And I feel like that could come in different packages.
For sure. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then that's kind of where I was going because, like I said, I thought I had a type, and then I met my girlfriend, and she's not completely opposite, but it was like I like darker women before. At least I thought I did, and my girl was like bright.
Yeah.
You know, and she a little heavier too. I didn't know I liked the juice. I like the juice.
The juice is where it's at. People don't be knowing.
I was thirsty. I was thirsty all side too. So you know,
we know.
But I didn't know
we
that.
juicy.
Though. And so I just asked because it's like a lot of times it's kind of like what Shanna was saying. It's like you got to know yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't know themselves because it's hard to know yourself when you haven't been put in certain situations. You haven't been through certain things.
Yep.
And once again, we're back to that T word I was talking about at the beginning. It's time. A lot of these things that people want require time and effort, and nobody wants to put the time in.
Yes.
And that's, you know, once again, I'm sorry for y'all.
Yeah. We had that discussion this morning. We were talking about how, you know, people need to really know themselves.
Yeah.
Know yourself. Come on, Drake.
Because, like, take for me for instance, coming up, I was a little nerdy kid. I was that kid that they called Mr. Peabody. You know, Mr. Peabody.
Wow.
Yeah, I was Mr. Peabody, and it was an insult back then. But now I was like, hey, that ain't so bad.
Man,
right.
Mr. Peabody was mad smart.
Right?
Really the man now.
So I've always been that guy. But once I started learning myself, and I'm like, you know, it's not so bad being this type of person.
Right.
So maybe I need to, instead of looking for that supermodel type person that I felt like I needed to be with, or, you know, or the person that I felt like she was arm candy, really.
Right. And nothing
Trophies.
else.
And nothing else,
Nothing
a trophy. Maybe I need to get with a person who shares
It's
the same
both.
interests as I do and is
And
beautiful
it's
as
both.
well. And,
Yes.
and sometimes we need to wait for that person. We don't need to get in all these different types of relationships thinking that
For
we
sure.
need to, you know, we need to kind of be patient and seek that person out. And that's why I was asking, do you have a type?
Yeah.
I think most people have a type.
And we've had that conversation before because let's have this more lighthearted portion
Here
of
she
this
go.
conversation. We were talking about how women want a man of a certain height.
Yes.
Now, so there's this whole
You guys
conversation.
voted for this too.
You guys remember we did a poll. We were here together, me, Shanna, and Michael, and I asked you guys in a poll, how do y'all feel about a man being a certain height? And the question was like twofold. Sorry. Does he have to be a certain height, like over 6 feet tall, or does he just have to be taller than you? And most women said they just would prefer that he's taller than them. So for someone like me who's 5'4", like,
That's easy.
my ex-husband was like 5'5". I mean, it didn't really, make a difference to me. But some of y'all said you wanted him to be over 6 feet. Now, some of those women were like, inbox me like, but I'm tall. Like you always say, like, I'm tall. Like I want someone to make me feel dainty because I'm already tall, or, a man have to make 6 figures and stuff like that. So let's have that conversation.
Do that.
I mean, that's all part of the type, though, I think.
Yeah.
Do
I feel like that kind of, that blends in. I mean, yes. I feel like that is kind of part of the type. Like your swag. Like do you like men in suits? Do you like men who, drive nice cars? Like that's part of your type. Like I would say that I do have a type. I think ideally, I like, more muscular build, 6'3" and up, you know what I'm saying? I
like on Hitch when that guy was like power suit, power tie, power steering.
Right. But
there you go.
The last
I like Vance Munson.
Vance Munson is your type?
I don't know. I think I know who you're talking about.
That's the dude in Hitch.
I don't know
That's my
favorite actor.
I love that movie.
That's his name in the movie because
Yes.
Hitch is like one of my favorite movies
Okay,
ever.
I know.
Okay, pumpkin.
I know. I love that movie.
But the last couple of I realized that I'm aware that having a type can be a negative thing because you really shortchange yourself.
Right.
So I put myself outside of my box, and I had 2 really great relationships by doing that. And honestly, I'm more attracted to personality and intellectual, I like conversation, those kinds of things, because there's a lot of times, let's be real, and I think it goes both ways. Some of the most attractive people are not always the brightest crayons in the box sometimes. So dating someone who's not model type, it comes with a lot of, I don't know, I feel like I'm in my last relationship, for example, you guys all know Travis. Travis to me is very attractive, but he's not really my type. But he never thought that he was the most attractive. So I feel like those guys almost overcompensate in other ways, if that makes sense. They're more chivalrous. They're genuinely good guys a lot of the time because they know. I mean, I hate to say that because some of these guys are actually really good looking guys, but they just don't know how good looking they are, which is a good thing sometimes.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
But
I'm so taking this crazy.
So I don't remember what's going with this.
Yeah, and plus I was going to say too, in terms of having a type, if any one of us thought back to any relationship that we've been in, any failed relationship, whatever it was that we feel like caused that relationship to fail had nothing to do with those things.
Right.
Totally. Right.
I like that. Yeah, you smart.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It usually doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's just a comfort zone of what we're used to, what we know. Y'all know, it's really big in, psychology, especially for women, that a lot of times you can have a daddy complex. So you can be drawn to men who remind you of your dad in certain ways. My dad is an alpha male type. He's a bigger guy. He's a protector, a breadwinner, whatever, but he also is, not the best person and, has abusive tendencies and all that other stuff. So I've really had to be mindful about the type of men that I'm drawn to because that feels comfortable to me because it is familiar, if that makes sense. It's I know how to navigate a man like that, but that doesn't mean that being with a man like that is healthy for sure.
Right.
For sure.
I think, and I'm coming from the super old school. I think that back in the day, marriages lasted forever.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the right reason, sometimes for the wrong reason.
Sometimes for the right and wrong, but
nobody knew though.
Nobody knew. And plus, also, they tried to work their way through the things. Yeah. I know my grandparents, they were married for 50 years.
Yeah. Same.
Before he died. And they slept in separate bedrooms.
Yep.
I remember them. I remember them sleeping in separate bedrooms. And I was like,
my grandparents did too.
Why are they? I mean, they already had 2 beds in their room.
Yep.
And
they
you know,
slept in
because
separate
back in the day,
bedrooms.
you didn't sleep in one bed; you slept in two beds.
Living with someone for the first time, I don't know why.
Yeah, they slept in separate bedrooms, and then after he died, and then I found out a lot of the stuff that he did.
Mm-hmm.
But they never
talked.
They never
talked
broke
about
up.
it.
They never talked about it. They stayed together. They took those vows seriously. And so you kind of think, okay, well, was that a good thing
Or was it a
or
bad thing?
Yeah,
Was
I'm
it a bad
so
thing?
conflicted about it.
I'm
I'm super
too.
conflicted. I don't
I
know.
almost
Yeah.
feel like it's
So conflicted.
unhealthy.
I know.
Because, like, well, I know for a fact my
But
grandmother.
for who?
For the people involved, like the people living under the roof, and
Okay.
it's unhealthy for the children
It,
because the children.
Thank
I'm
you.
saying this from
Yes.
experience.
Absolutely.
My parents, I never knew, like they never fought in front of us. Everything seemed perfect, but I'm a very empathic person. I am very spiritually sensitive, and I can pick up on energies. So when I was little, I was a very depressed child, and I had no idea why. And then when I was in 6th grade, our parents announced to us, I mean, everything was great. My dad was the coach of everything. We were like, the Cosby's on the block, the mulatto Cosby, you know? The mulatto.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, my mom
T-shirt.
sits us down, and she's like, oh, your dad and I are separated. We've been separated for 6 years.
yeah.
What?
wow?
What?
Since 1st grade?
Yes.
That's jacked
I
up.
mean, it
Right.
threw me for a
That's
loop.
crazy.
But everything, like, as I've processed it with the Lord over the years, because it took a long time to heal from that.
Yeah, you need
A
Jesus.
long time to heal from that, because, you know, I'm confused as a child. Why is Daddy sleeping on the couch? You know, but then they never, ever fought. Like, I mean, literally never. Everything seemed great. We would take long walks to the park. I mean, it was just like this freaking fairy tale. But then there's so much heaviness
But that
when
was
I
just
think
it.
back.
Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah,
You didn't
like
know.
you felt
You
the
didn't know at
negative
the
end.
time.
I didn't know at the time, but I
Right,
felt
that was
it.
just it.
But I
Yeah.
felt it.
Yeah.
And kids are so freaking smart, and parents don't think that their kids know something's not right, but they do.
Yeah.
And,
And
so,
I would say,
and I'm not
sorry.
even gonna say all of them because my brother was oblivious.
So let me ask you this.
But it also a lot of it has manifested, so he just doesn't deal with his emotions. So like he may not realize that he was aware and affected, but he actually is. He just hasn't dealt with it.
So let me ask you this. Now that you're an adult, if you did know, how do you think you would turn out? Would you still have the morals that you have today based on the false persona that they gave you? Or would you be more okay with domestic situations? So which one is better? So you say it's bad for the kids at the time because they're left in the dark and it makes you feel somewhere you don't know. But at the same time, when you grow up, would you have rather grew up in that fairy tale and then been able to process it as an adult or process it as a 6-year-old kid?
right.
Which one is better?
I don't think there's anyone that's necessarily. I think that it would probably, honestly, I would have more respect
You wouldn't.
as an adult. I mean, because granted, you're not going to be able to understand that at that young of an age. But I didn't understand it anyway. You know what I mean? Like none of it is ever going to make sense. But I don't think that.
But your ideals are different. Like you still want that because you saw, even if it was false, you lived the mulatto Cosby life and you saw it. Some kids
So
never
now every
seen
time
it.
I approach a situation, every time I'm in a relationship, I feel like it's a lie. I always question whether do you actually love me? Or are you just saying that you love me and then you really don't? Because people can so quick change their mind.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a better or a worse side of that coin. I think it just manifests in a different way because for me, there was turmoil in my household. Like it wasn't no secret. We know it. We saw it. It was abuse. It was cheating. It was everything. The way that it mostly manifested for me as an adult is there were people all around us that knew what was going on, family and stuff like that. And as a kid, I always felt like, why isn't anyone protecting me? Why isn't anyone like doing anything about this? So as an adult woman, I always feel unprotected. Like I just never feel safe. I can love and trust easily. Like I don't necessarily have an issue with that. But it's always like, but are you gonna like have my back? Like, are you gonna protect me? Or are you gonna be there for me? Because in both of my relationships, in a certain way, y'all know I don't fool with my ex-husband, but me and my son's dad are still friends. But in both situations, I had the feeling of still being in a relationship, but being alone. If that makes sense. Being by myself, still being out there, still being forced to figure it out. And I've gotten to a place of peace about it. Like, I know how God has wanted to grow me and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that I don't still hope that one day I'll have a partner that helps me feel secure in that type of way. So I think we both just turned out in different ways based on the fact that I knew and you didn't. It still gave you certain issues and it still gave me certain issues.
It makes I think you still end up with trust issues either way.
Okay, so
that's just in different. Like for me, I feel like.
So as a parent, if you were a parent and you're in that situation, all I'm trying to like just shed light on is that they just had two messed up situations to choose from because that was their relationship. And y'all didn't ask for it.
Right.
But they had to make a decision.
Absolutely.
For sure. And I'll tell you this, like as a mom, to me, I like to just lead with the truth in a way that I feel like my kids can handle it. Like even when I was in a relationship, you know, I always tried to make sure that everything was appropriate, but I did the types of things that I felt like would be good for my kids. Then when I decided to not be in a relationship, I explained to my daughters why. I decided, you know what, I felt this way, but I've changed my mind. And it's okay sometimes to change your mind or to feel like something is not right for you anymore. But guess what? I'm still going to be respectful of him. He's still going to be respectful of me. Like they see how we interact. And even times, I'm talking about me and my son's dad, which is not my daughter's dad. But even times that they see us have disagreements, they also see us work through it. And I let them know, like, hey, you know, and you don't want to make your kids feel uncomfortable. Like, I would never just have a knockdown, drag out argument fight in front of my kids. But I do let them sometimes hear conversations that I have, because we don't have like a toxic, you know, situation where we are cursing at each other or whatever. But we do have disagreements. And I let my kids know, hey, sometimes you have disagreements. You got to work through that stuff. Like, that doesn't mean that the world's going to stop. That doesn't mean anything. It's like, it is what it is. And then they see us move on. And I feel like that gives them a comfort. So to me, it's like, I'm not going to hide anything, but I'm also not going to make things try to seem better than what they are.
Right.
I'm just going to present it to them the way that it is.
And I feel like that's important, because you have to learn that. I feel like at a young age, because that's the age where your conscious mind is still forming. So if your parent is super brutally honest with you, starting from the beginning, one, you have more respect for your parent. Two, it's like you learn how to be a communicative adult. Like, because I feel like the people don't know how to communicate effectively, and they don't know how to be real and vulnerable.
Because we teach our
social media.
Yeah.
What?
I thought that was social media. Not to get off topic, but like I feel like, you know,
For
this,
sure.
this
Is it though?
Man, people don't like.
Oh, what do you mean it's not social? You think being
I think
real and vulnerable is social?
I think being able to communicate with a human being, like actually have the type of conversation that we're having as for adults right now. I don't think a lot of
social media makes that worse, is what he's saying.
Yeah,
It makes it
they
harsher.
don't know how to
Yeah,
talk to
for
people.
sure.
It's like, it's
But
like,
where did they learn that?
And we teach, I feel like one generational
Exactly.
curse, if you will, that I break for my kids is I allow my kids to tell me how they feel. I apologize to my kids when I feel like I'm wrong. Like, a lot of us were raised where, like, just because I said so, you get over there and you sit down and you shut up. At the end of the day, they know that they have to follow what I say because I'm their mother. But if they have questions about something that I've told them to do or they want to know why, I will explain it to them. And I will ask them, what do you think about that? Like, do you understand why I said that? Do you understand why this isn't safe? Do you understand why you can't do that? Or why we should do this? Like, I try to explain that to them because I feel like as a kid, like, we weren't allowed to tell people how we feel. So then it's like, now as a grown woman, you know, someone's hurting me and I'm not speaking up.
Right.
Because it's like you weren't ever allowed to say, no, I don't like it when you do that. Like, that hurts my feelings. Because it's like parents a lot of times don't let their kids say stuff like that.
Or like my sister, for example, she had a really tough childhood and was, you know, so she always tells her children, like, if you don't feel comfortable giving them a hug, you don't have to give them a hug.
Right.
You know, because it's like you have to be respectful. But if you don't feel comfortable touching that person, you don't have to touch them.
Right.
Like,
people have to be respectful of you too.
Absolutely. Like, you, just because you're a child doesn't mean that you can let adults do whatever the heck you want them to do. And
absolutely.
Everything that we learn, everything that we are as a young adult is what we have been conditioned to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that we're all, and even you could be the most, you know, intelligent, most well-rounded young adult, but you still got issues. You know, so no matter what, we're gonna have issues. But like, what kind of issues do you want your child to have? You know what I mean?
And how do you want to equip your kids and yourself? Because we kind of got off topic, so I'll try to bring it back. Because, you know, we always get on our tangents. How dedicated are you to making sure that you have the toolkit that you need to navigate best through life? Because we're all going to have issues. We're all going to have struggles. But how dedicated are you to making sure that you have what you need to be the best version of yourself and to relate to others in the best way that you can? Because not only do we have to learn about ourselves, we need to learn how to read other people. We need to learn how to know when someone, you know, how people need you to show up for them, because everybody requires something different. So it's about being self-aware, but it's about being others aware too.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So I know Marcus has to make an exit, but
That was a good conversation.
Can I get one? Can
Yeah,
we go around and
please,
just give one piece of advice?
yes, I think that's a
kinda
good,
dope.
that's a good idea. Go ahead and start, Mikey.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
All right. Ladies. This is for the ladies. The ladies.
Oh, wait. Let me make sure it's still.
That's funny.
The man that's best for you is in your friend zone.
I have
Remember that.
heard that so many times in the last couple weeks.
All right.
Okay, my piece of advice, and this is like, honestly, the Lord in 2011, the Lord so vividly yelled at me, "Know yourself." And like, that has always stuck with me, and obviously that's like kind of my thing, like just understanding who you are, be confident in who you are as an individual. Do not be afraid to lose the person that you are going to date. Like, that, I think that is the most important thing. That is the most important thing to me. Be confident in who you are. Do not be afraid to lose anyone.
Yeah, for sure.
It's real talk.
She stole mine.
And you gotta think up another one on the fly.
Jeez.
It don't necessarily have to just be about relationship.
Nah, just advice, period. Right?
Yeah. Life advice, bro man advice.
Nah, for sure. But like, that's just so big. Like, know yourself. Like that's my mantra. It really is. Like, know yourself. Like, anybody who knows me knows that. Like, that's the first thing I'm gonna tell somebody.
Yeah.
And they come to me with anything. But I guess if I have to have a second, I would say just I don't know.
That was your one.
It just permeates everything.
That you guys know, that's so important. You need to know yourself.
You just gotta know yourself, man. Because so now I guess I can just elaborate. Once you know yourself, then you can navigate through this life a lot more confidently and deal with a lot more things. Because the truth is, you don't know. That's the only thing you can know for sure. Is yourself.
Or deal with a lot less because you know yourself enough to know that I am not trying to deal with you.
There you go.
Or that you can't deal with everything that comes your way. Whichever one that fits.
Whichever one.
Whatever
Or both.
fits.
Because
Or both.
that's how it be sometimes.
It be
Sometimes
like
you
that.
gotta deal with stuff you don't want to deal with. Sometimes you can.
For sure. So yeah, Shanna.2, checking out.
I think that's all good advice. And once you have followed those pieces of advice, I would say check your expectations. You guys have heard me say unmet expectations lead to disappointment. But what is the source of where your expectations are coming from, and be careful not to project your expectations on another person who maybe doesn't even understand where you're coming from, or is not going to be able to meet those expectations, especially like Marcus was saying, like men are not mind readers, especially if you're not verbalizing that. So just check your expectations. Sometimes you need to I'm not saying drop your standards. I'm saying don't go into every situation. Don't go into, you know, when you meet a guy or whatever. Sometimes you just don't go into it with expectations at all. Sometimes you just need to feel things out. And don't be afraid to just let people be friends. Every good man is not for you. It's not your good man.
No, I am not
So-
your good man. I'm not. I want somebody
You're
else.
somebody else's good man. But I mean, even single,
I'm your good friend.
even single man, even when you meet a single man, some good, like you guys know me and Michael are friends, but that doesn't mean that we have to be anything other than just friends, even though we both, when we first met, we weren't when we first met, but even though we both ended up being single for a point, it's like, that doesn't mean that you have to go be with everyone who's single.
Right.
Like sometimes it's okay to just be a good person to good people.
Right.
I like that.
Amen.
So.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you think about
Yes,
having some
tell us
fellas
in the
on.
comments what resonated with you guys the most. And make sure you're following us all on social media.
Yes, and I'll put all the links in the description box. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, all that jazz. And we'll see you on the next